Howdy, happy Monday. Welcome to live stream number 37. Today is Monday. It is July 31st. Tomorrow's August. The summer's just flying by. I hope you're doing well. Thank you so much for taking the time to join today's live stream. We haven't gotten anybody in yet, but I know that people's going to be trickling in here every second. I definitely appreciate you taking the time to watch this recording. Don't forget, down in the description area is my email address. If there's any specific topics you would like to see in future live streams, just send me an email, man. It's all good. There's also the link for the CNC Handbook down there still. We got Luke in here. Good to see you, Luke. What else do we have to tell you? So there's the CNC Handbook down there. You can go and download that one if you haven't already. We're going to take another week here where we're going to do every live stream at 3 p.m. Eastern. So we're going to try this another week where every day this week there will be a live stream at 3 p.m. But again, the great thing about YouTube is that it's being recorded, right? So if you miss it, don't worry, it'll be up on the channel. I can see we got a bunch of people in here. We got Bob. We got Richard is in here. We got Dennis in here. We got David in here. Appreciate it all, guys. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy day to join also the live stream. Let's jump into this Monday's topic. We're back at it. Today, I just want to briefly talk about, well, I called it in the title, Direct Modeling Volume 2. I just want to touch a little bit about direct modeling again. That was a pretty hot topic when we did that. It's got to be a few weeks ago. Just want to show a couple of tips in regards to that. And then also I want to talk about something called selection sets. If you have never seen that and you are dealing with fairly big assemblies, then you're also going to like that. So I will jump back into the chat in a moment. I can see we already got 25 people in there. It was really awesome. Appreciate it. People from all around the world. Let's talk about Fusion 360 because that's why you came here, right? All right. So I loaded up my plastic injection mold. And by the way, if you have not seen this before, you will see I have I think it's a 5-part series maybe on how I create this plastic injection mold completely from scratch. On top of that video series you can find on the YouTube channel, you can actually also download this model, so you don't even have to redo it yourself. Down in the description area in those videos, you will find this link to this dataset, so you can grab it yourself. Now, let's talk a little bit about direct editing. So let me just go in here, and I'm just going to select this molding backplate. So I'm just going to right-click on it, and I'm going to say Isolate. So we're bringing just this mold plate in here. And if you have watched any of the stuff that I've done before, you know that we can go down to a single part level, and then we get the history tree down here in the bottom, right? Now here's the thing. Just another way to kind of like think about direct modeling. When we were talking about direct modeling in the previous video, and if you go into the playlist that all these live streams are in, and you do a Control or Command if you're on a Mac, but if you do a Control F, then you will get the little find, and you can search Untitled. So that's how you can find out of these now soon to be 37 live streams. You can find things in there. But in the last live stream, we talked about direct modeling. We talked about when to use some of these different tools that is inside of Fusion 360. And it's really handy when you get imported model. So if you're getting like from another CAD software, and that's another topic that we also have talked about here on the live stream before, about these different formats. So IGES, Step, and all these different kinds. So there's a lot of stuff for you to watch if you haven't caught all of the live streams. But so direct editing or direct modeling is great when it comes to working with imported models, where you can just pretty quickly tweak things. But another way of thinking of this is actually also when you're doing edits. So let's talk a little bit about that. And I will come back. This topic's going to be reoccurring because I know it's hot for a lot of people who really want to dive deep into direct modeling or direct editing or whatever you want to call it, these direct editing tools. So one of the things that I like to think about these tools as a handy way to have them is also when you are editing parts, especially parts that you have not done yourself. So if you saw this series, if you watched the videos for this plastic injection mold, you will see how I used layout sketches to this entire mold is pretty much controlled by these sketches here. And I definitely recommend, I think you should watch it if you haven't. Take the time to at least watch the first, well, maybe like a few of the videos and just, you know, skip a little bit through them and see if this is not kind of like catching your interest. Because the great thing about these layout sketches is that everything is controlled from here. All the different components in the assembly is controlled from here. But if you, for example, received this whole mold, all the components, not just the lower mold plate we're looking at here, from somebody else, and you had to do a couple of quick tweaks to it, edit a couple of things, it can be a little overwhelming if you have to try to go in and figure out how things are modeled, right? Especially if you have, in this case, if you have never seen layout sketches, when you're looking at this tree down here, you will see all these extrusions, and you're like, where the heck is all the sketches, right? This is where also direct modeling or direct editing, I don't know which one you prefer, can come into play. So for example, one I want to show you, we talked about the move command the other day. So many times when you're getting, you know, you got to change something on an existing part, it's many times just small tweaks. So let's say we wanted to move one of these bushing holes in a little bit, because actually on a mold, these are normally not laid out all the same location. One of them is normally a little bit smaller and all moved in a little bit, so the mold cannot be rotated 180 degrees wrong. So if we wanted to move this one bushing hole, we could, of course, go into the layout sketches in here somewhere. It's probably sitting right in here in the top mold clamping area, and we could move the sketch. That was one of the things I showed in the video. Is great about this. But if I was just going to move this in, you know, 25 millimeters or something, I could also use the move tool. So by right-clicking, by right-clicking out here, I can select move. And remember, if you didn't see that video, we have the different things in here. I'm going to select faces, and if I select all the inside faces in here, now I can move just this hole. Of course, right now the pivot is just default to kind of like the whole center, but don't forget, let me go to the bottom of this plate, that you have the set pivot tools up here. So I could actually go right to the center of this part here. Just remember to turn the pivot tool off again. And I can now move this hole from the center location. What it probably is, you know, if they come and say, hey, you got to move this hole over 25 millimeters, they're probably not just going to make the 0 from here and over. They're probably going to have a dimension coming from here or something. So here I can actually move it over that 25 millimeters, just like this, hit OK, and you will see that I now have captured in my history, there is that hole. That means if I move back, that's where the hole was located. Here it is, the new location that they want. So not only do I get notified in here that that I have in the tree that I have made this move, I actually also, when I save it, of course, I get to put in a description where I could say that it has moved. So that's one way to look at this direct editing, like we talked about the other day with the move command can be used for this. Now another little trick I want to show you that I hope that you will find helpful. You let me know. In the first one, in the first live stream where we talked about direct editing, one of the tools we talked about there was the press pull tool. Q, right? Q on your keyboard will give you that press pull that does all different kinds of things. If you recall, the press pull, we sketch up a sketch, and we hit press pull or Q, then we get a standard extrude command. But you can actually also select an edge, and it will do a fillet on it, or as we did in the direct editing or direct modeling video the last time, we showed how it can offset faces. Well, let me just show you a cool little trick about that. So if I want to offset this face in here, so right now we could go in, just for the fun of it, let's go in and measure it from here to the back side. You will see that going out quite a bit of decimals, that we are 18.5 is the thickness. Well, what if we had to change that to, again, let's just say 25. If I go in and hit Q on my keyboard and I select that face, you get some different options in here. Now, normally it will come as automatic. And if you select it as automatic, you will see that it gives you a distance that is 37.5. And it is actually giving the distance from the top here because that was how originally this was created. Now, if I go down and I select new offset from the drop down in here, you will actually see that it changes us to 0. So now the dimension is actually coming from wherever I just selected it, kind of like resets it. But here's the cool thing. If we want it to be 25 from the bottom, you can actually go to the drop down here and you can go in and select re-anchor. So if I select re-anchor and I select that bottom face, now you will see that it takes from the back side that 18.5 in here, and that's what it's using now for that dimension to do that 25. And again, also in here, of course, we get, now the icon is an offset face, but we get that that in there too as a parametric or as a rule-based thing. So I just wanted to bring this topic back because I know that when I did this, a few people were really excited about it, and I you know, I'm creating a video that is coming next week, I think, where I'm talking about how, you know, there is no right way to model. I know when you're brand new inside of Fusion, you're kind of like looking for that right way to do things. But there's different ways you can handle things. Now, in this example here, it would have been perfectly okay to go back, finding the sketches, finding the operation, and correct it that way. But if you just got to do a quick change to a part, I think this is legit, right? We didn't destroy anything. It's all down in the timeline, so we can always roll back and be back to where that was. So I hope that you found that helpful. Definitely, you know, let me know. Give me the thumbs up or the thumbs down, depending on what you think of this kind of stuff. Now, the next thing I want to talk about, just for a few minutes, is selection sets. So if you already downloaded the whole mold, then you have seen that there's a couple of in there. Let me just show you what that is. So if we go back in here and let's isolate by right-clicking at that lower plate. So now we're getting the whole mold back here, and let's just make it top active. So as you can see, this mold contains a bunch of different components in here. So if you're looking down here, you can see we have a bunch of different components. A lot of these different components, hardware and different things. Now, there's a neat thing called selection set. So if I go down here and I want to, for example, if I want to collect all the hardware, I can select this top part here and scroll all the way down to the bottom. I'm going to hold down Shift on my keyboard, so I select everything. That's all the hardware, because I kind of like put it in that order. If I now right-click here, you will see that I get an option that says Create Selection Set. I click on that, And now what I got, you couldn't see it because it happened further up in the tree. I now have a folder up here called Selection Set. And you will see that there's 61 components in it. Now, if I go over here and I select right here, I can select them all. And then I could, for example, hit V on my keyboard, like Victor, Victory. I don't know what else starts with V. Select that, and now I have just hidden all those components. So selection sets gives you an option to kind of select a series of components and kind of like create them into their own little selection set, I guess. So if I, for example, this upper half of the mold, if I select the upper insert, I select the control, select the upper mold plate and the upper clamping plate, I could right click here and say create selection set, and now say I get that as a selection set up here. Now I could select that area and I could hit V for, you know, hiding that visual thing there. Now, of course, the trick here is to rename these. So slow left click, and we can call this upper half. Oops, if we can spell it. And this one here, maybe we want to call this one hardware. So what these selection sets lets you do is it lets you kind of like reorganize your assembly so it's easier to kind of like selecting things. So for example, in this case here, I have a couple of injector pins. I could go in and double select those, and I could create a selection set for those, rename those, slow left click, ejection plates, right? So I can do that, and then I can hide those if I want to. V on my keyboard, you see that kind of like going away. And then of course the last portion in here maybe is the lower half. I think you get it now. Right click, selection set. So we're gonna call this one lower half. And now I kind of like, I can isolate things and I can work on things. So if I want the lower half and I also want the hardware visible, I can just select the hardware, hit V, and then that's back on. Now I got all the hardware on. If I want to turn on the upper half, I can select those. So it's a way to kind of like select all different kinds of aspect in your tree. So it's a really good way to kind of like clean up to select things, because many times when you're working, when your assembly starts getting to a certain size, you kind of like want to be able to you know, hide and show things just to make life a lot easier. And then there is a the next one over here is an update button, so you can actually select you know, multiple things. So right now if I select the upper half, and then I actually also select the lower insert. So now the lower insert is also selected. And I go back up to the upper half and I say update. That means that now the lower insert is also in this upper half. You can see that now have 4 items in it. So again, if I select that and I do a V, I can now show that them as a selection or not if I don't want to. So I hope that this is something that is kind of helpful as you're building things, that you can start hiding with this. I think actually honestly I probably wait a little bit too long before I start using it. I ain't really got to the point when I did the mold. I don't think you see me do it until pretty close to the end. When I started getting all this hardware in there and stuff like that. But it's a nice way to kind of like select things and keep things somewhat organized. I hope that you found this helpful. I can see we got a bunch of people in here. You can see that Peter is he's still sitting somewhere where, you know, they're enjoying the sun in there. We got Isaac from Mexico, people from Alaska, UK. Really appreciate all you guys taking the time to break your busy day and come here and join these live streams. And I hope today's topic was useful. Some extra direct modeling tips, and then these selection sets. Definitely want to use those when your assembly starts to grow. So if you like it, thumbs up. If you don't, be honest, thumbs down. It's all good. Any comments and suggestions down in the comment area is absolutely appreciated. My email address for any future topics. Tomorrow we're also doing 3 o'clock Eastern, so same time as today, for live stream number 38, and that's going to be on a tool called Boundary Fill well, I think it had been a Fusion from the beginning, but pretty neat tool that I want to show you tomorrow. So I'm going to do what I normally do. I'm going to end today's live stream and the broadcast. So if you're watching the recording, really appreciate you taking the time, and I'm going to jump into the live stream chat and just check out and see how everybody's doing. So until the next time, I hope you have an awesome day. Thank you.